And so, speaking of your master's studies, after more or less 2.5 years, you are close to finishing. You're working on your master thesis, no?
Yes.
And how was the experience so far?
Well, I don't know whether this has anything to do with Germany or Germans or it's like that everywhere because I noticed that here we have supervisors that are really every step of the way with you. And there are some that are letting you do things on your own. And then you come if you explicitly need help, or you set up a meeting every now and never to catch up on your progress or to check on your progress. And I think that's it's really depending on what you need. So if you need more guidance, I think you can also find people like that. But also and of course, I think it's way more often that you find people that are just not willing to put a lot of work into your thesis. So my supervisor, I would say we have a really good communication, and I would say that like every step of the way, I can just come to his office and ask him if he has a minute, and he always has a minute, and it always turns into a 1 hour at least. So I would say that's such a luxury, but for me, it's also kind of a shock because in Serbia, after you finish your university, after you finish your exams, you're done. You don't have a bachelor thesis. So on the Faculty of Biology, you don't have a bachelor thesis. So I've never written anything myself in any language. So I really appreciate that I have someone that I can ask about this stuff all the time.
Okay, and would you say that writing the thesis itself was the most challenging part, or it was something else from before?
No, I think just thinking about, because first here at my university, it works in a way that you have a course, which is basically your master thesis proposal. So you write a master thesis proposal and then you make a presentation about your proposal and then you get a grade. And then based on that proposal, you are doing your experiment. And I think it's a lot of work to plan your experiment, to troubleshoot when things are not working because things are most often not working.
Okay. Are they asking you what you expect that it might go wrong from the beginning?
They ask you, but also they ask you what might go wrong, but also they look into the holes of your proposal and they try to stress them out so you don't make this mistake later, which is really good because then you are more prepared. But of course, for example, I wanted to do my experiment with some pumps for water pumps, but it turned out that they're not strong enough. So you have a plan, you have an idea, and based on these pumps, like everything is based later on these pumps. So if it's not working, you really have to sit down with your supervisor and talk on how you're going to proceed, how you can look into the data, how you can represent this data later on. So it's really important that you have a person that is invested if you need that, because I could always tell him that things are not working. And even when I was setting up experiments, he was there with me and we were setting them up together. And I had my colleagues that were doing all of it alone. They went alone on the field to pick up their organisms. They were alone in the lab setting up the experiments. They were later on alone in the data analysis. And as I said, like somebody can do that. People can do that. And I admire those people, but I'm not one of them. So,
Yeah,
so I think
sure.
it's not just the writing part. I think it's really from the beginning, from the proposal part, all the way till the end, you need guidance. Or I need guidance.
Okay, so did the idea of your career after your master change in the meantime from the period of starting your master to now, or what was actually your plan at the beginning and what is now after your masters?
Well, in the beginning, during my bachelor's already, I was set up on doing a PhD and just basically running through steps. So running through my bachelor's, running through the master's, and just starting a PhD and finishing the PhD. But now during my master's studies, as I said, it's quite scientifically oriented. So we had a lot of presentations, we had a lot of written assignments, we wrote a lot of essays, we made a lot of posters, we wrote even a few proposals for our courses. And I realized it is very stressful, and a lot of times you have to multitask, a lot of times you have to do many things at once, and I can't do that, especially when you have to do some statistics about this, and then you have to do some statistics about something different, and then you completely mix what you need to do and what you've already done and what was it for. So but I do like science, and I do like working on the field, I like working in the lab. So I do think that I would like to do a PhD still. I'm not going to rush into it. I'm not running towards it anymore, but I think I definitely want to do it. Or I would also be fine with just having a scientist job. So it's basically you are contributing to the experiments. You have responsibility over some tasks. It can last from 1 to 3 years, like depending on the project that you're employed on, but you don't get a PhD title afterwards.
And do you see yourself like long term in Germany? And like, what would you say that for you is like a most important thing to choose where you will go after your master and for a PhD, for example?
I would say I'm a bit biased on that. Because, as I said, I've been here in Kiel even before my master's, and I really felt safe in this city. And it's not just safe, like outside on the street if somebody's going to attack me or not. No, also kind of safe, like it's my home. And I don't know, somehow I really identified with this city. There is not a lot of things to do. So it's not like you can go out every Saturday, but at some point you get fed up with it because there is just a few places to go. And I think I'm also not really a person that just like going out every weekend. So the rhythm and the pace of the city is really, it identifies with me. So I think I would like to stay in this city. But anyway, I would like to stay in Germany in general. At first, I thought I would like to stay in Germany until I get, I don't know, EU papers so I can go somewhere else. But I don't see myself living and staying in a different country. I like the science that's been done here. So I like also the positions that I see myself in the future professionally, but also in my private life, I like the pace, but also the system itself in a way that, for example, the social protection, it's really good. Like if you stay jobless, you can apply for this money to support you until you find the next job, which is, I know that some people are taking advantage of it. Um, but it is a good thing if you are between jobs and you are not being worried whether you're going to end up on the street or not. The other aspect is the health insurance. You can always go to the doctor, and first there are appointments quite fast. So if you're just going for a checkup, you have to book an appointment like a few months in advance. But if there is something serious, they are taking you right away, and they're not joking with that. So it's really good that you know that if you're sick, you're going to be taken care of. I would say that as a person, you're quite protected and you don't need to worry so much financially.